Hello, everyone. I'm the person who made the page. Okay, so we have a Michael Jordan fan who wants to go on. He's from YouTube. He goes by the YouTube username of Man Down. He has Michael Jordan as a number one player of all time, and he would like to explain why Michael Jordan is a number one player of all time. So let me put him on. Hey, welcome to the program.
Hey, I'm good to go, man. Glad to be on your show, man. I actually like the page. Everything's I like the concept and all that good stuff, man. So hopefully we get through this and I can explain why I have Mike number one.
Thank you. Okay, so you have Michael Jordan as the number one player of all time. Feel free to explain if you like.
All right. So it's simple for me. It's not a lot of science to go with it. I tend to look at people play, and I can narrow it down really easily to the best people I've ever seen play, and they get down to a list of maybe five, and it's kind of unfair because it is some people I didn't get to see play, like the Wilts and the Bill Russells. Of course, I didn't get to see them play live, only highlights and looking at their resume. But from what I've seen, I haven't seen a player that was more complete, who was more skilled and better, and super athlete. And you put all that together with the resume as Michael Jordan. So, and by complete, I mean he was the best offensive player in his era. And as far as wing defenders, he was the best defender of his era as well. So he had it on both ends of the court. And then the resume you add to it with his winning and then getting his rings and, all the other accolades. Best I've ever seen.
So some of these things you can apply to other players. There are other players who were the best offensive player, who dominated on defense, who have the resume and things like that.
I think Hakeem Olajuwon is another one of those other complete players who was a offensive force, a defensive force as well. I think you can maybe give Wilt Chamberlain
Maybe.
that title. Yeah. Bill Russell was more
No,
defender.
why a maybe? Why not like for sure?
Because I think in his era, Bill Russell was a better defender than him at the same position.
Oh, Bill Russell? Okay.
Yeah, Bill Russell was a better defender than Wilt. I mean, he did get a lot of stats as far as blocks and all that stuff. But if you look at the team success of Wilt Chamberlain, he wasn't able to really have the big team success, even when he put up all those big numbers. The
But that's
team
not his
success
fault,
wasn't there.
right? Or is it his fault?
It's you can say it's not his fault, but to be fair across the board to everyone, um, I can't go and say, well, I'm gonna blame his teammates or other circumstances around him as the reason why he didn't achieve when someone else actually did achieve in his same area.
But you're acting like the other guy who achieves is doing something that's different from the other guy who's not achieving, which it may be true, but it takes a team to win.
It does, and and I heard the argument about the team accomplishments, being winning rings. That's a team accomplishment, but I push back on it and say that everything on the basketball court is a team accomplishment. I can't record an assist without the guy I passed it to making a shot. I can't score a basket without the other four players on my team actually occupying four other players as defenders and allow me to do that. So everything is a team accomplishment. The only thing that you actually can record as a stat that's solely on you is free throws.
So if this is a team win, a team wins, team loses, it has to do with a team then. Why elevate one guy over another guy based on the team winning?
Just results from you being a team leader. So if we say everything is a team accomplishment and every team has a leader, we can identify who that leader is. And now I can say what you do as a leader, what your skill set is as a player, what was the results from that? Was it more winning than this guy? Then that's how we're going to do it. That's the only way you can do it fair, because it's so many different circumstances that you can nitpick, that, at some point it's not going to be any type of criteria that you can use, because I can always come to, well, what about this or what about that? So if you really want to come up with a criteria on how to measure a guy's success personally and his team success, you know, you got to draw the line somewhere. And that's why I do it. You as a team leader, you accomplish this, and you as a team leader, you accomplish this, and then I measure it.
So just for the record, so I'm not trying to make the point that Bill Russell is a better defender than Wilt Chamberlain, or that Wilt Chamberlain is a better defender than Bill Russell. I have a guess on that. I'm guessing Wilt Chamberlain might have been a better defender, but I'm not 100% sure. For me, if someone picks Bill Russell as a better defender, that's fine. If someone picks Wilt Chamberlain as a better defender, that's fine. But the point is, it takes a team to win. So it doesn't make sense to elevate one guy over another guy based on the team winning. Now, your point is basically about, one of your points is basically about how a guy affects the team to win. So if that's the case, in order to affect a team to win, you first have to have a good team to win. And not everyone has the same team. Not everyone has a good team to win. Some players have a better team to win. So again, if one team wins more than another team that wins, why would you rank one player over another player?
Because your point that someone didn't have a good team. If we be specific and have an example, let's take somebody like LeBron James.
LeBron James came up.
Yeah, let's talk about LeBron. So a lot of times
that's a joke, because lots of times Michael Jordan fans eventually bring up LeBron James. You know,
that's fair. That's fair. I mean, it happened. But for my example of bringing him up is because it is a popular belief that he's had lesser teams, and sometimes that might be true. He did have some teams that didn't have like big names on it. You know, some of his Cleveland teams didn't have big names on it, and he was able to get those teams to finals at least twice, I think. Well, at least once when he went his first finals against San Antonio. You know, you could say they had lesser players, but I say all that to say this: certain players are easy to build around. Easier to build around than other players, depending on their skill set. And for LeBron's skill set, being that he does so many things well, above average, he does. He handles the ball. He distributes. He dictates the flow of the game. He passes so well, and he can score, and he can do so many things on the offensive end so well. It's almost kind of like equivalent to how Peyton Manning was the whole system when he played football. LeBron James is the whole system for his team.
So do you mean that because LeBron James does more things than Michael Jordan, it's easier to build a team around him to win?
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is it's harder to find pieces to fit around a guy who's going to do everything, because if you're going to be the primary scorer, the primary ball handler, the assist guy, the person who distributes to everyone, if you're going to be all that, then guess what type of players is not going to fit with you? Players that distribute. So when he got coupled with a player like Derrick Rose in Cleveland, it only lasted for half a season. They had to trade him. When he had Isaiah Thomas in Cleveland, they had to get rid of him.
No, but not everyone would work well with Michael Jordan either. Michael Jordan is basically, I know he does different things, but he's basically a scorer. So are you explaining that it's easier to build a team around Michael Jordan than LeBron James?
I'm gonna get to that, and in my opinion, yes, it is, because with players that are great, players that are good or above average, the first skill we learn is on-ball skills, how to handle the ball, how to create our own shot and all that stuff. That is going to be 9 times out of 10 a common thing amongst players that are really good. Right?
I don't know if that's true, but okay.
D-Wade, Kobe Bryant, LeBron, Mike, Kevin Durant, Kyrie, all these guys that are all-stars, they can get their own shot, especially for wing players.
Yeah, but
they can get their own shot.
Pretty much every all-star star player can get their own shot, and they can do it at times too.
Right. So if you can get your own shot, and you can handle the ball, and you can do all that stuff, right? When you play with LeBron, you have less of an opportunity to do that because he always has the ball.
No, but if he's an all-around player and he's known as getting his teammates involved, he passes, it would be better for them to play with a guy like LeBron James instead of a guy like Michael Jordan. In fact, anyone who plays basketball, it's better if you play with someone who passes you the ball than someone who just always scores first.
Except you don't have any data to actually prove that, because what the data actually shows
I do. But go ahead.
what the data actually shows is when you have a team with a player averaging 10 plus more assists, the more assists you have for one player distributing for your team, the less you have for the teammates. And it's easier to guard when one player is making plays for everyone, where you have 2 or 3 guys who actually have equal opportunity. So what I'm saying is equal opportunity doesn't exist when you have one guy who's the sole distributor for your team.
I mean, I could give you examples of people in the NBA who pass and they won a lot. For example, there's a guy who's known as the ultimate team player, Magic Johnson.
That's the only exception to the rule.
But that was a lot of years. The team wasn't the same year every year.
He's the only guy who's averaged 10 plus assists and has won.
Okay, but it's still a lot of years. It wasn't like he was 1 year or 1 season. He's still doing for a lot of chunk of the NBA. In fact, Wilt Chamberlain also sacrificed his game and started passing, and he started winning. Michael Jordan himself sacrificed his game and started passing. They started winning. I know your point was averaging more assists. That's one of your points. But the concept is still there that when you pass the ball and you're more of a team player, you're going to help your team win. And one of the things you can do for data, you can just ask people, would you rather play with a guy who passes first or scores first? There are a lot of people who would pick Magic to play with him over Michael Jordan. There are some people who would pick, for example, Larry Bird was asked, would you rather play with Kobe or LeBron? He goes, well, I'd probably play with LeBron, but if I want to win, I'll play with Kobe.
Right. And the whole purpose of playing the game is to win. So, I mean, he gave you the answer right there. If he wanted to win, he'll play with Kobe. But if he wanted to have his own personal stats, then he'll play with a guy that's giving up the ball. So we're talking about winning. So let me.
So Magic Johnson, if you play with Magic, you have a better chance to win than you play with Michael Jordan.
Well, Michael Jordan actually beat Magic, and Magic actually played his first couple of years with Kareem.
Michael didn't beat Magic.
Okay, the Bulls beat the Lakers, right. And Mike was the team lead, and Magic was the team leader.
No, but that goes back to the topic that why would you elevate one guy over another guy because a team wins?
And I'm trying to explain it. So when you're the team leader, like I said, it's easier to build around certain guys because of their skill set. So the ends justify the means.
Is it easier to build around Michael Jordan than Magic Johnson? No, the answer is no, man. It's easier to build around Magic. Actually, you explained he's the exception to the rule.
I don't think. I would say Michael. Yeah. I mean,
you think it's easier to build around Michael Jordan than Magic Johnson?
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you why. But because the name of the game is to win. And the way you win is to score more points than your opponent. So. How you score more points is you put the ball in the hole and you stop the other team from scoring. So with my best player on my team, he's one of the best defenders and the best scorer wrapped in one guy.
Okay, so then by your logic, Wilt Chamberlain should have basically won every year.
Won what? The league?
Yeah, because if he's scoring the most points and he's a great top defender, best defender, some people thought he was the number one defender, by your logic of what Michael Jordan was doing, scoring and defending, Wilt Chamberlain should have won every year. In fact, by your logic, Bill Russell should not have won every year because he didn't score as many points as someone else.
By my logic, I'm answering the question that it's easier to build around MJ than it is Magic.
No, I understand, but you're correct. But you're explaining things about that. That's not adding up.
Oh, well, it's not adding up when you're talking about Wilt and Bill. All right, then it's a whole totally different conversation when you talk about Wilt and Bill. So if you just asked me, was it easier to build around MJ than Magic? Yes, and this is why. Now you're bringing in Bill Russell and Wilt.
No, but when you were explaining, I know what I asked you, but when you followed up, you explained about the name of the game is scoring and stopping your team. And I think your point was Michael scored and played defense. And I'm showing you that you can be in the NBA and score a grip of points and play a really good defense, and you can lose. And you can be in the NBA and not score as much and play defense, and you can win. The point is, there's no fixed thing.
Your example was Wilt, right?
That was one. I can give you more. There's Wilt Chamberlain. There's Bill Russell. Okay. There's Magic Johnson.
Hold on, Magic Johnson. Magic Johnson is an example of what? Defending?
Yeah, he's a guy who didn't score as much as someone else, and he won a lot.
But no. You said Magic Johnson was an example of a guy who did it on both ends.
No, I'm saying he's an example of someone who scores a lot, I'm sorry, he does not score a lot, and he still won a lot.
Yeah, and he played with who? Kareem, right?
Okay, but that's silly. So what he's
No, no, no,
supposed to
no, no. He played with Kareem, right? Kareem's the
and
number
Michael
one
played with
scorer.
Scottie Pippen and Phil Jackson and Dennis Rodman.
Okay, but Magic played with Kareem, who's the number one
No,
scorer of all time, right?
Magic also went to the finals without Kareem. And
And
Kareem when he's in his 38, 37, he's not the same player. You can't act like every year old man Kareem, who's still a dominant player, who still helps, that he's the same guy as 20-year-old Kareem. One year he wasn't with the Lakers, they went to the finals. The last year he played like 15 minutes a game. And he was old a lot of times, which he still is a wonderful player. I'm not knocking him, but
yeah,
when you say he had Kareem, it doesn't make sense because, first of
it
all,
does make sense.
everyone has somebody. You have to have somebody to win. I mean, what's Magic
That's true.
supposed to do? Leave the team and say, well, I'm not going to play with Kareem because somebody in the future is not going to give me credit then. And number two, Michael had people on his team. And number three, Kareem wasn't the same player every year. When Kareem is older and older and older, you can't just go, well, Magic had Kareem then.
No,
You know?
I'm not taking away from Magic from having Kareem, but your example that Magic got it done without scoring a lot of points because he had a guy that was scoring a lot of points.
Okay, well, then you can do the same thing with Michael. Michael got it done because he had a team built around him where they literally built it around him and they gave him most of the plays. Like Joe Dumars explained, 90% of the plays are for Michael Jordan and the other 10% are for Michael Jordan. If you had a
That's not
squad built around you and every play was basically run through you, of course you're going to score more points. And if the team is good, you're going to win. That's not a knock against you. But if you're going to take away from someone else, and I know you explained you're not doing that, but you are, then you can do the same routine for Michael Jordan.
so. With this conversation, we're tangling so many different things. So your original question was
I'm addressing what you're bringing up, man.
right, but you have to let me get to the end of my point and bringing in all these other different things because all those things that you're bringing up are all questionable. You're not bringing up like facts. All of that stuff can be debated, and
No,
we're gonna end up debating 10 different topics at
But
once.
first of all, this is not a free ride. If you bring up certain stuff you're bringing up, I'm not going to be like, okay, this is let that go, let that go, let that go. I'm going to address some of the things you're bringing up because they're either not true or they're not fitting or they're like there's a contradiction or something. And the other part about I'm not giving you facts, that's not true. I'm giving you at least some facts, man.
Okay, you can say that. So your question was what what makes MJ an easier player to build around? And my answer is when you have a player, and if you can take the testimony from Phil Jackson or BJ Armstrong, Horace Grant, whoever was all on that Bulls team, or you can just take the testimony of how Michael Jordan played before Phil. And I give you an example when he averaged 28, 8, and 8, when he was actually handling the ball more than anybody. He was pretty much playing the exact same type of game that LeBron plays. He was scoring most of the points, and he was assisting and rebounding. So he was averaging 28, 8, and 8. When Phil came, he said, I'm going to take you off the ball. By Michael Jordan's own mouth, he said he didn't appreciate Phil when he first showed up because he was taking the ball out of his hands. And he said, you're going to be more effective when you have more players shining in their role and not you doing everything. So statistically, Michael Jordan, if he would have continued to average 28, 8, and 8, he would have shattered the record books. But he wouldn't have won that much.
But now we're doing a what if game. I could find you tons of stars if they did a what if game, what numbers they have. Wilt Chamberlain sacrificed his game. There's probably never been any star in the NBA on his level who sacrificed his game like Wilt Chamberlain. If he didn't sacrifice, he would have had even more records than he has now. And he already has the most records of all time.
Very good. And I agree. So with Michael Jordan, when he made the decision to come off the ball, that opened up an opportunity for the triangle offense to flourish. And the triangle offense was pretty much for all the role players. Michael Jordan played off the ball with minimal dribbles. He learned how to play in the post. He learned how to shoot off the pass and not with the ball in his hands so much. And it allowed Scottie Pippen to be the point forward that he was.
And Michael also dribbled a lot. And Scottie Pippen also played a lot to help Michael Jordan play well.
Right. So, and Scottie Pippen wouldn't have flourished in the role that we know him to be as the point forward.
That's not true. When Michael Jordan left, they did really well.
Right. So
And
what
even,
I'm saying is, if
sorry,
Michael Jordan
sorry,
never,
one more thing. Sorry, I'm sorry. Even if he didn't leave, we can't assume to know how Pippen would or not done. The guy is talented. We have no reason to think that he couldn't do as well, or at
right?
least on that level.
Yeah, I agree. So if Michael Jordan would have decided to stay on the ball, you can't have two people on the ball. It's going to be in Mike's hand. So that means Pippen would have had to learn how to play a game which was unnatural to him, which was off the ball. You get what I'm saying?
I
Michael
don't know if it
Scott,
was unnatural for him, but okay.
it was unnatural because he was a 6'1" point guard in college, and he hit a 6 inch growth spurt over one summer.
Yeah, but no, but
So
I just don't know if it was unnatural. He changed his game. He sacrificed his game. Fine. I don't know if it was unnatural.
yeah, it is.
Okay.
It is
Or you say
coming from
so,
a
but
ball,
I don't know if that's true.
coming from a ball player. If me being a point guard my whole life, and if I grew 6 inches in college, and all of a sudden I'm a small forward, my natural position, the one that I played the most, the one that was the foundation of my game, was being a point guard. That's why Scottie Pippen was so good at his point, being a point
I mean,
forward.
for me, these are professional players, and lots of people did one thing in high school and college and were different in the NBA. But it's not really like always that big of a thing. Like they're pretty good at it because they're professionals. They adapt, they adjust. He's still doing so many things in the game where it's not that much of a difference. If there is, because a point guard is different from a forward, I get that. It doesn't mean it's like a big thing because for him it might be easier. Oh, he might be having more fun.
Do you have a sample size to prove that point?
Well, I mean, do you have a sample size to prove what you explained? I have to go. I
Yeah,
have to go by. Fair
I
enough.
have a sample. I have a sample size of what Scottie Pippen was averaging when Michael Jordan had the ball in his hand all the time, and I have a sample size of what Scottie Pippen was able to do once they gave him the point forward duties.
Well, what is your conclusion for that?
I also have a sample size of when Scottie Pippen went to Houston to play with Charles Barkley and Elijah Wan, and they had a conventional point guard, and Scottie Pippen was playing off the ball.
Right, when he was
Though,
older. Yeah.
well, if you say he was older, well, as soon as he left Houston and went to Portland and went back to the point forward duties, Portland went to the Western Conference Finals and was having deep playoff runs, and he was having phenomenal years. So I see what he's done off the ball, and I see what he's done with the ball in his
But
hand.
I don't say you're wrong on those things, but the problem is because there's so many players who prove otherwise. Like you asked me, do I have any examples? I mean, I guess I could give you some, but you should just know by common sense, lots of players do something in high school and college and then are different in the NBA. And for them, it doesn't mean they're all having a tough time or it's unnatural or whatever. For them, it might be fun. And when you give the examples of what Pippen did differently, there could be a million reasons why. Maybe he was older, maybe his minutes were different, maybe the systems were different, maybe the roles were different. There's just so many factors taken into consideration. But what you did was you came to a conclusion based on certain selective things that happened, and you acted like, well, this is the reason or reasons.
Yeah, specific to Scottie Pippen, yes. And if you want to take his own testimony, you can find Scottie Pippen saying the exact same thing, and you can find Phil Jackson saying the exact same thing too. So to wrap
Well,
up what I'm
if we're
saying,
going to go by that, Phil Jackson was asked, not to change the topic, but if you're going to go by what people explain, Phil Jackson was asked who he would pick first on his team, and he didn't pick Michael Jordan.
very good, and that's a whole. We'll get to that. So,
But it's a matter of consistency. So, like, I appreciate your points, but it's a matter of consistency. So when you bring up these things and I go into it, I'm trying to get you to think on like, hey, are you being factual? Are you being consistent? Are you making things up? It's like that kind of thing.
yeah, and of course I'm being factual. Of course, the foundation of his basketball foundation is being a point guard,
Okay.
and that is a natural position for him. So putting him in that, yeah,
Okay.
you're going to get more out of him in his natural habitat. But yeah, to your point, he probably would have figured it out some things playing off the ball. But I'm just telling you, we don't have a sample size of him being the Scottie Pippen we know outside of being the point forward.
Well,
But
that's true. That's fine.
right.
So why come to the conclusions? Why not just acknowledge like lots of players? And you did that to a degree. You were like players can adapt or adjust or whatever. If you know players
But
can
I'm talking about
adapt and
Scotty.
adjust,
I'm talking about Scotty specifically, though.
but I mean, no, but then,
Before we apply it, before we generalize this and apply it across the board, I'm not really making a point for Scottie Pippen. I'm making a point
But
for
remember you asked me when
MJ right
I
now.
was giving you other players or examples, you were like, do you have any proof on that or something? So you were questioning that.
I'm trying to make a point for Michael Jordan.
Just figured because there's so many variables and we don't know, there's no reason to come to a conclusion like this. Just take it for what it is. Maybe Pippen would have done better, maybe not. Maybe he was having more fun.
And we'll get to that. So my whole thing is the opportunity for him to do all of that stuff would not been there. And just by basketball logic, if Michael Jordan is on the ball, right, and he was playing the way he was playing before field, which means that everyone got a shot off of Michael Jordan's assist, or either Michael Jordan was going to shoot, and he also had the ball in his hand. But I mean, just by basketball pure logic, that would make Pippen an off-ball player. So either he's going to be scoring off jump shots off of Michael Jordan's pass, threes off of Michael Jordan's pass, and fast break points. You get what I'm saying? The opportunity for him to create is not going to be there. You can't have the same opportunity to create when you're off the ball. That means Michael Jordan's creating.
Maybe because I could find teams where multiple people score a grip of points and they all switch balls and some of them bring it up, so they find time to get the touches and the shots and the statistics and things like that.
Right. So with the Bulls specifically, Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen, Michael Jordan was doing all of that solely. And when Phil came, he said, I need you off the ball and I'm going to implement the triangle offense. So what they did is they gave Pippen and other players like B.J. Armstrong's opportunities to create. And Michael Jordan actually put his game and all his abilities kind of like in a box. And if you let B.J. Armstrong describe what their philosophy was they would run the triangle. The triangle was for everyone but Jordan. Jordan would find his spots in the offense. But when the fourth quarter came, especially if it was close with 4 or less minutes to go, they pretty much went back to what Jordan's natural habitat was, which was...
Are you talking about a specific year or just in general?
That's just in general. That was Phil Jackson's philosophy.
I mean, I have no idea what you're referring to. If you claimed it happened, I want to be open to it. But I mean, this is not even like disputed by most people, if anyone actually, other than you so far, that everything was pretty much run for Michael Jordan, or most of the plays, and he wanted to do most of the scoring then.
No, that's not what the triangle offense was for. The triangle offense was for the team. The triangle offense was not for Mike.
Triangle offense works well when you have a dominant offensive player taking most of everything. It's working through that one guy.
No, that's not what the triangle offense is. It's not working through one guy. It was for the team to succeed. It was for spacing, and it was for the team to be able to get from the same spots on the court. You know, those spots are occupied, and you had so many different variations that you can go through. I mean, you had high screen rows you can go through. You had backdoor passes. You had posts. You had mid post, high post.
Oh, that's true. No, that's true. But it's centered around going through Michael Jordan, and you made it seem like he didn't dribble as much, and it was only through the fourth quarter or something like that. This was basically going through Michael Jordan.
No, it wasn't going. The triangle offense was an offense for everyone but Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan found his shots in the triangle. Right, and that's how highly skilled he had to be. He had to be someone that was on the ball with on the ball skills to go off the ball and scoring in the post.
I don't understand. No, I don't understand. Here's what I'm getting from you: that it's not what I'm explaining going through one guy. It's for the team. And Michael Jordan is so skilled, he found it by himself, basically. Which I don't just doubt he was skilled and he found it, but it works through him. When they do the triangle, it's not like it's the same exact play every time. As you mentioned, there's high screen, different things. They do different things. But at the end of the day, it's going through Michael Jordan. Like with the Lakers, they did it through Shaq. Shaq wasn't going around the perimeter and doing different things. It's going through Shaq a lot of times.
Wait, when you say going through, what do you mean?
Like every play is set up and designed to make sure Mike gets the ball and he scores, or most of them.
No, that's not what the triangle was with the Bulls. No.
I mean, I've never gotten. This is the first time some Michael Jordan fans explain this. And how about for Shaquille and the Lakers? Was it also same thing that was not really meant for him either then?
I'm not saying no, because I think Kobe was more in that role that Mike was in the triangle. With Shaq being in the post, it was going through the post more often. But that doesn't mean every play, every trip down the court, it was for Shaq.
Oh no, that's true. No, I agree. Not everything is literally from Michael Jordan, Shaq. For Shaq, it was a little bit less because he had Kobe, but in the beginning, it was run. He was basically the first guy, and for Michael Jordan, he was the first. It was pretty much most of it was through him. Again, Joe Dumars explained 90% of the plays are for Michael Jordan, and the other 10% are for Michael Jordan.
I think you're explaining. I had to hear what Joe Dumars was talking about when he said that, because that don't make a lot of sense. So I would love to see what he meant, when he said that. But
there's nothing. I have the video. You can play it. There's really nothing else to it. I mean, just put two and two together. You know he's going to get most of the touches. You know he's getting most of the points. He's averaging the most points. And people like Joe Dumars and other NBA players, experts, people who are scouts, they all know these things. This is the first time that anyone's explained what you've explained, that it's not really for Michael Jordan. He didn't dribble that much, and it was mostly for the fourth quarter, and he was so skilled.
Right, but that's facts. He didn't dribble a lot in the triangle.
What do you mean that's facts?
He didn't dribble a lot in the triangle. Most of his shots came with 3 dribbles or less. If you got Scottie Pippen being the point forward, he's bringing the ball up, or someone like Tony Kukoc is bringing the ball up, or even the conventional point guard and B.J. Armstrong is bringing the ball up. Michael Jordan is already down the court, somewhere in the triangle, whether it was in the low post or high post, and sometimes he get on the wing. But when he get it, the way the triangle is set, there's not a lot of dribbling to do. When he gets the ball, it's 2 dribble pull up, or 1 dribble pull up, or I'm in the post and it's just 1 dribble fade away.
Okay, so
I got you. So yeah, it's so many other options where people could score before the ball actually gets to Michael Jordan.
No, but he's not going to let that happen. Mike ain't going to let it happen with someone. No, I don't dispute that other people can score. Of course, this is not Michael Jordan versus a team. It's a team versus a team. So they're setting it up. So if Mike can't do it, or he doesn't want to do it, or he's stuck, someone else scores. That's a normal thing for all plays and all players. But there were plenty of times where Michael Jordan would dribble a lot, or bring the ball up, or hold the ball and do stuff. I mean, he didn't do anything different from what most scorers do. They give him the ball, he scores.
Well, yeah, he did it different because it was with 3 dribbles or less, and the equal opportunity was there for other teammates to be creators or create offense as well.
But by that logic,
so just think of this real quick, bro. Just think of equal opportunity. Is that equal opportunity in the triangle offense where anybody can get a shot? And tell me if you've heard that Tex Winters or Phil Jackson or any other Bulls player actually say that this offense is an equal opportunity offense. And contrast that with any other superstar, whether it's Harden, Westbrook, LeBron James, or anybody who has Steve Nash, anybody who has a high usage rate, and you tell me if the equal opportunity is there for someone else to create offense.
Okay, but there's a few things I don't even know where to begin on this. So first of all, you're asking me, have they ever said those words? That doesn't prove anything whether they said it or not, because it's just you're making up your own criteria and going, has it happened? That's your own random criteria. I could explain a random criteria like Magic Johnson would run down the lane, set up a play with 20 seconds on the shot clock. That helps his team way more than Michael Jordan and makes him a better player because he's setting up a play with 20 seconds on the clock. All you got to do is just run down and be ready. That's actually pretty amazing. And the other part about Michael Jordan didn't do much, like he didn't dribble that much, and he just gets the ball and scores. This is a very normal thing with any isolation play or any setup play, half court situation. You bring the ball up, you rotate, you go around the circle, whatever, you give it to your star, he holds it, he dribbles it, he shoots it. It's a very normal thing. You're elevating Michael Jordan like he did something that was so different in terms of the play wasn't meant for him to get it, and he was so skilled, and he made it happen, and that's something that elevates him over everyone else. Doesn't make sense, man. You're just
actually what I'm doing is I'm trying to get to a point and answer the question that was your original question. How is it easier to build a team around MJ versus some of the other superstars?
Okay, go ahead, man. I mean, I'm not talking to myself. We're both going over these things.
Right. So if you're asking me what elevates him over everyone else, I think I answered that in my first two sentences, but then this is the question you're asking me: how is it easier to build around him? So remember, every time we go off on a tangent and we're talking about all these other things, remember the original question that I'm trying to answer that
I
I can't.
understand, but remember, again, this isn't a free ride. If you bring up certain things, I'm not going to give you a pass and let it go. You're bringing up things, it's good to go over it then. Or unless you don't want to go
Right,
over it, then
but
I'll just wait and then you tell me what parts you want me to go
no,
over then.
but if you actually want to know the answer to your question, right? It'd be wise to allow the answer to actually develop versus bringing in all
I
this
mean,
other
but no,
stuff.
but you're acting like I haven't listened to anything. You've gone into quite a few details, quite a few. It wasn't like you just spelled tomato and before you got past the three letters, I'm
Right.
just coming to conclusions. I'm listening to what you're saying. I can actually explain back to you some of the things you've told me, very specific and some details, and you were going over them yourself. I thought you were fine with it. You're addressing it, but since you brought
Yeah.
this up more than once, I guess you don't want to go over these topics. Don't bring them up, man.
No, it ain't like that at all. What I'm saying, I'm trying to answer your original question,
And I'm
and we're
following up,
getting
man. I'm following up, man.
okay. So the original question: how is it easy to bid around Mike versus the other guys? And by me telling you and explaining to you, when you take Michael Jordan off the ball and you allow someone like Scottie Pippen to be in his natural habitat as a point forward, right? What you end up having is you get the best of Scottie Pippen's abilities coupled with the best of Michael Jordan's abilities. And my contrast example was LeBron James. When LeBron James is so good at what he does, you fall into the trap of wanting him to do all of those things. But what you do is you lessen players around him, so you actually getting the best of LeBron James, but you're only getting a
I
percentage of his second and
I have
third
to
player.
follow up. It is I very rarely have heard anyone in the NBA, whether they're scouting or coaches or players themselves or fans, who act like it's harder to play with a team player like LeBron or Magic or whoever versus playing with a score first player like Michael Jordan.
A score force player who doesn't have the ball in his hand that much versus a player who has the ball all the time, and it's going to be easier for one and two type of players, and it's going to be harder for or not even harder, but you're going to get lesser of the player's abilities.
Right.
And my examples would be all the power forwards he plays with. If you take Kevin Love or Chris Bosh, for example, they both their natural position was in the paint and as a post
I
player.
understand, but what you're doing is here's what the problem what you're doing. In theory, what you're explaining is logical, but what you're doing is you're taking players and then assuming, well, this is not their natural position. They're doing something so different, and look who he's playing with, Michael Jordan, and he's doing something so different. Oh, it's different from everyone else. Michael Jordan's number one. That you can find so many
No,
variables.
no, that's not why I'm saying he's number one. What I'm
But
saying is,
just real quick,
why is it easier?
there's lots of stars out there who don't bring the ball up court and they wait for their spots and they throw the ball down and they take one dribble, two dribble, maybe three, and then they score. This is a very common thing done in a basketball game. It's not just Michael Jordan. Then.
Okay, so with I contrast what I was saying with LeBron James and what I said is it's better to have your best player giving his A game, and your second and third player also being able to give their A game. With Kevin Love and Chris Bosh as my examples, if you've seen what body of work they was able to do in Minnesota and Toronto as number one players and was capable of posting up and getting their own shot, they had to pretty much give that game up to play with LeBron, and they both became 3-point
But
shooters.
lots of people have to sacrifice their game to play with lots of stars. It's a very common
Right.
thing in the NBA.
Very, very common. You're absolutely right. But what I'm explaining to you is, would you rather have LeBron's A game and Chris Bosh's A game and Wade's A game, or would you rather have LeBron's A game with Chris Bosh's B game and D Wade's B game?
Like I'm doing a math word problem here.
Right.
Before I get to that, can I ask why is that your criteria? This guy's A, this guy's B, this guy's C. You need a team to win, man. There's so many variables. One guy can have an A game, a B game, and a C game. One guy can have a B game and a D game and an A game, and one guy can have an A game, an A game, an A game, like the Warriors, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson, etc. And one team can have a bunch of stars who are not the best stars, and they can win.
No, you're absolutely right, but we're getting into other things. If you, I'm just asking you to have tunnel vision for one quick second, and just listen to what I'm saying. Just have tunnel vision for a second, and then we'll go off and apply this across the board, and we'll explain all of those examples you gave. But it's not that hard to see. It's if you put your best foot forward, and two other guys put their best foot forward, you're going to get more output that way. But what I'm saying is, guys are taking away from the game.
Wait! I have to interrupt you. I have to interrupt you. You're asking me to have tunnel vision just for now, and we can get to the other things later. I got that part, but then you explained if you have this player, what was that? You have a best chance to win. There's a contradiction there. If you're acknowledging that it takes a team to win, there's so many variables, depends on the stars, that's fine. And if you're going, well, let's have tunnel vision and just focus on this, that's fine. But if you do both, you're doing both sides and you're contradicting yourself. Then either you need a team and there's so many variables, or it's this thing about Michael Jordan was over all the other players because he was the most skilled or whatever.
Yeah, but remember, I'm answering your original question, which is why is it easier to build around someone like MJ versus some of the other superstars?
I got it. I'm following up.
Right.
Go ahead.
And if I could just go ahead and reiterate Michael Jordan's ability to go from his what he was early in his career doing, which was providing all the offense, averaging 28, 8, and 8.
That happened 1 year. You're taking 1 year where he had assists, and I know why he did that. The other years he was basically scoring, man.
Because that was the year that they put him on the ball.
No, that was the year he wanted to do it because he wanted to show everyone that he wasn't just a score first player, and he was trying to. That was the year they put him on the ball. Remember his rookie season?
Then remember his second season where he was broke his foot, and then his third season. Right.
No, but I'm saying
that's the 28.
But when you say they put him on the ball, he wanted to show everyone also that because Magic Johnson was passing a lot. Magic was his driving force, he explained, and he wanted to show everyone he could pass and get a lot of assists, and he wasn't just a scorer; that he could pass, and get like assists like Magic, and he wasn't just a guy who just gets points.
Right, and it's still an example of when he played on the ball. I'm just using it as a reference point when he played on the ball.
But it's 1 year. So why would that be like a definitive reference? It's 1 year.
Right, but Doug Collins was the coach who was allowing him to do that, and Phil Jackson was the coach that came in and said you will no longer do that. And he said I wanted to continue to do that, but Phil Jackson was taking the ball out of my hands, and that's what I didn't like originally.
Okay.
This is from his own mouth. Look, Phil Jackson was taking the ball out of my hands, and I didn't like that. Doug Collins was putting the ball in my hands. So the year he averaged 28, 8, and 8 was a year that you can agree that if he would continue to play like that, Scottie Pippen would have had to play another way.
No, but we're going to what ifs. I don't understand why you're doing this. Like,
we'll forget the what ifs.
We don't have to forget the what ifs. What I don't get is I could find you a million examples where there's a what if about a player, about whatever, a franchise. What if this? What if that? Why do you then elevate Michael Jordan over the other NBA stars?
Yeah, and I'm not elevating him. What I'm trying to do is answer your original question, which is how is it easier to build around Michael Jordan versus some of the other guys? And I'm explaining you his ability to go from one thing to another thing.
Go ahead.
Right, and by him going off the ball allowed Scottie Pippen to be on the ball. So now you're getting two A games from two players. Versus I'm taking, since I can do it better than you, I'm going to take this opportunity away from you, and you're going to have to figure something else out to do. The best player on the team actually adjusted his game to give a more of an opportunity for his second player to be able to flourish.
And what does that prove? What does that prove?
So I'm giving you examples of what it didn't happen with LeBron James. He's a great player on the ball. So when he had other players who's good on the ball who actually can't do anything other than play on the ball, like Rondo, like Derrick Rose. These players are pretty much strictly on the ball players. That's how you're going to get their best output. Well, when they play with LeBron James, they have to adjust their game to play off the ball. Same thing with Lonzo Ball.
I don't understand. I don't understand. You're focusing on Pippen adjusted game, Michael Jordan. You have lots of players adjusting their game for a player or for different players. Everyone has a role on what they're doing. Again, what you're doing is you've done this before where you seem to agree. You're like, I know that's true, but then you keep doing it where you go, Michael Jordan is the number one player, as if there's something he did it more skillfully than the other stars.
Right, because you're locked in on me saying that this makes him the number one. I didn't say this makes him number one. I said I'm answering your question on why it's easier to build around a player like Michael Jordan, who's able to adjust his game to go off the ball for the greater good of the team and allow his second star.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. So even
Right.
on that note, if you're saying this doesn't prove that he's number one. I thought that's where you're eventually leading it to, that it makes him number one. But if you're not,
this has been 30 minutes of me trying to answer one question.
well, that's not fair. Again, you're doing that again like a third time where you're acting like you're just not getting a chance to finish. I've given you plenty of time to explain something in detail. This is not a free ride where I'm just going to let everything go. If you want me to just let everything go, then you tell me when you're done and what points you want me to address. You're bringing up things that don't fit or that are not factual or not logical or whatever. I'm addressing it. So, for example, if your point is that you're not explaining he's number one, you're explaining why it's easier to build a team around him. If that's your point, which I got it, that's your point. Why?
That was your question, though.
We have to get back into how that happened.
I don't have to answer that question. I won't answer that.
You can no. I didn't say whose question it was, or you can't answer or whatever. I have to go back on how this started. It doesn't matter because I'm going to follow up to it. If you're going, it's easier to build it around Michael Jordan. Why do you act like it's easier to build it around him when all these variables about a star sacrificing, about an A-player game, helping a team to win, you can find these kind of things, or whatever the topic, you can find these things with other stars and other players and other franchises.
You know that's two different things, right? Building around a player and a player sacrificing. It sounds similar, but it's not the same thing.
Okay, if you're right,
like with Wilt Chamberlain sacrificing his 50 and 60 point outputs every night and saying I'm gonna pass more. Yeah, he sacrificed, but was it still difficult to build around him? Yeah,
but you say these things like this guy sacrificed, difficult, Michael Jordan easier, Pippen would have been unnatural. You're saying these things like it's facts. Remember you asked me something like, do you have any data on that? Well, do you have any data on this? You're just making things up and acting like it's factual.
No, so the data that Scottie Pippen's output got better when he got in the role of.
Well, I was referring to different, not just that one thing. But go ahead.
That's there. The data that he was a point guard in college when he was 6'1", that's there. The data that Rondo, Lonzo Ball, Derrick Rose, Isaiah Thomas, all who were natural point guards had to play off the ball when they played with LeBron James. That's facts.
Right, but again, lots of players adjust, adapt, change, and do different things in the NBA. You're acting like it's easier to build it around Mike when you're just making up your own criteria and coming to these conclusions and acting like it's different for him over everyone else, and you put him number one then. For your best player to have a skill set and for you to have another player who has, okay, so let's take LeBron as an example. He has multiple skill sets, right? Would you agree that he's an all-around better player than Michael Jordan? What all around? You mean offensively and defensively? Everything, the whole game. No. Okay. So Michael Jordan is a better all-around player than LeBron James. Okay. Yeah, because basketball is played on both ends of the floor, and LeBron James stopped playing on the defensive end maybe 4 years ago. But and I'm sure if LeBron James was here and we asked him, hey, did you stop playing defense on the 4 years ago? He would say, yep, my defense ain't the same. I mean, it's true. You don't agree with that? The only people who say things like that are Michael Jordan. Do you agree, though, that he's not the defender that Mike is? I have no idea. How would I know? How would I measure that? The only way I can measure defense is two ways, on steals and blocks. That's it. That's all I can measure. Everything else is just playing tape of who's locking down who's playing who. Basketball is a game, where people put more effort on offense and then sometimes take a break on defense. Nobody plays offense and defense 100% the same level the whole game.
Right, except some people actually do, though.
That's what you say, and that's not true. And the evidence is in the game itself. In basketball, both teams score 128 points. They're going back and forth, back and forth. It is a lot harder to stop a team from scoring. If you're playing one-on-one, you have a better chance to score than the guy stopping you because you're throwing the ball in the air. So if the ball goes in the basket, it doesn't mean you're not a good defender. It doesn't mean the guy's a better offensively than you. It just means there's odds of how the ball can go in the basket, what percentage. So you can be a great defender and someone can score on you. As Larry Bird pointed out, anybody can score on anybody.
Mm-hmm. So when you look at the game, because defense and rebounding, those things are mostly effort, and then of course ability. Because someone like Charles Barkley or Carmelo Anthony, they're chubby guys who try to guard more athletic guys. They can have all the effort in the world, but their ability to stop those guys might not be there. That's why Carmelo gets.
But this is a maybe, and I'm not saying you're wrong. But there's no way to. My point is, there's no way to factually know definitively for sure who is the best unless you go by statistics like steals and blocks. And when it comes to the overall all-around game, it's not just a simple thing, offense and defense. You're right, it's offense and defense. But when you take everything into consideration, scoring, rebounding, steals, assists, blocks, field goal percentage, three-point percentage, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, that doesn't you're not factually right when you claim that Michael Jordan has a better overall player than LeBron James.
Right, and I agree with you. If you was to take statistics and come to a conclusion, just off of statistics with no context, without watching the game, you can then form a paper champion on just statistics.
That's slippery. It's slippery what you did. I like what you did, man.
And I agree with you. If we was doing a paper champion, we can easily give that to LeBron.
I've noticed the only people who have a problem with statistics are Michael Jordan fans, except when it helps Michael Jordan. Everyone else you have to put into context. He's a stat patter. He didn't win. Every statistic doesn't matter unless it helps Michael Jordan. Every time. Wilt Chamberlain.
I'm not like that. I'm not like that.
But no, you say that, but you're bringing up something that only Michael Jordan fans bring up. Every time there's a player who has better stats, this is what they tell me, and you're doing the same thing. They go, well, you know what? I guess if you go by statistics, like it's a separate thing, yeah, this guy is better. Wilt Chamberlain, LeBron James, whoever, Jerry West, whoever. You know what? They're stat patterns. Oh, you know what? You have to put it in context. Everything, there's always a reason why somebody else has better stats. And then when it's Michael Jordan, oh no, it's because he was Michael Jordan, the man. There's always an excuse, a variable for other stars, but not for Michael Jordan.
Well, yeah. I mean, like I said, I don't come to a conclusion of statistics for no player.
Why not?
Because it's just a foolish way to look at. Just look at if I was going to say who's the best player, just go to the statistic or who's the best scorer. All I got to do is go to the all-time list and see who's number one, and that's the best scorer.
Right, but that's one category. When you're talking about overall game, what do you do in a basketball game when you play? What do? You score, you rebound, you get a steals, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's literally an evaluation of what you're doing on average and in total. It's not like you're going on 1 week or 1 month or one season. If you take a whole guy's career and you take all his stats, you can't just act like, yeah, statistics, we can go on that. It's a paper winning. It's a separate thing. That is the game.
No, the game is winning.
That's a team. That's a team thing, not one guy.
Everything is a team accomplishment. Even your individual points is a team accomplishment. You can't do that without the team. Right. So everything is a team accomplishment. That's a fact. You can't isolate
to different levels.
No, but you can't isolate winning and say we're not going to equate that to the leader of the team. We're just going to equate that to the team.
Sure you can.
Well, you do the same thing for every stat.
Sure you can. I'll tell you how you can do it, because you can literally beat Kareem Abdul-Jabbar didn't even play and they won.
All right. So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
If the team doesn't play good enough defense for the opposing team to miss the shot, is there opportunity for a rebound?
If the team doesn't play defense for the other team to do what?
Missing a shot.
Okay.
Is either going to be from good defense and you taking a bad shot.
Okay.
or a lesser percentage shot, and it's going to be an opportunity for a rebound. So even getting a rebound is a team accomplishment because you have to play defense and you have to box out.
No, what I explained was it's a team accomplishment to different levels, so not every stat is the same
Okay,
thing.
I'm glad you said different levels. So let's go to different levels for each stat. Right.
Okay,
so
but before you do it,
the purpose of the game is to win, right?
No, but I'm saying
just
to save time. Just to save time. Instead of spending time going over each stat, if you're going to do that, I don't know if you are, but it doesn't matter.
Not each stat. Okay. I'm just saying you want to talk about levels or things being valued on different levels. If you talk about statistics and the name of the game is to win, and in order to win, you have to score more points than the other team or stop the other team from scoring. So
that's a very simplified version of it. You have to do a lot of things.
It's very simplified. So scoring and defending is your number one stat.
You say it's very simplified, but you're doing it. It's a very simplified thing. There's a lot of things that happen in a game.
Simplified is great. It's the best way to do things. You simplify.
Okay, then if you want to go by simplicity, let me make it simple for you. Michael Jordan doesn't have the best statistics of all time. Simple.
All right, and that's good. So if you're trying to crown a paper number one, then go by the statistics.
It's not only. Paper is literally what they did. If you want to ignore the facts, you can make things up.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to go by statistics only, then yeah, there's no argument.
I personally don't. I don't even rank players. There's probably no such thing. But I'm trying to make the point that if you're going to rank them anyway, I didn't explain this. If you're going to rank them, the only thing to rely on factually is statistics and records. And if you disagree, if you go,
I disagree.
I disagree. Okay, what was that?
I disagree. You gotta watch them play.
No, I'm saying if you disagree, then you're relying on things that are less reliable than statistics and records, and there's
nothing more reliable than what I've seen.
And you're making up your own random criteria of what you're going to go by then. So, for example, Michael Jordan fans do this thing where it's the tape, it's the eye test. Got to play the tape of these guys. That's a ridiculous thing to do because I could play tape for 1 million people over the history of the NBA and give me your answer. They're just going by their random tape, whatever tape they played, whatever comparisons they're making, whatever their opinions on the NBA is.
Right.
So why is your tape?
That's true. And that last part that you said, when you're actually coming up with your own criteria, yeah, that's exactly. And I think I explained that when we first started. Yeah, for me, for what I've seen, he's the best I've ever seen play.
But then I don't understand that because here's the problem. If you're agreeing with me that it's random, it's people playing whatever tape they play, it's whatever their opinion on the NBA is. It depends whatever they know about the NBA. How do you figure out who's right and who's wrong? It's literally just people making things up, going by whatever they want, their own thing. It's that kind of stuff. So if you're going to rank on facts, the only factual thing it's not 100%, I agree, but it's the closest thing to relying on is statistics and records. And if you disagree, then you're not only relying on things that are less reliable, but you're making things up and going by whatever you want to go on when it comes to the NBA.
Yeah, and like I said, I disagree and agree because I agree that if you're trying to find the best player on paper, and
what does that mean, best player on paper?
And a paper champion by you saying, because this guy has filled up so many different categories.
You're acting like he had a color crayon, he just put a dot in there. It's literally what he's doing in a game on average and in total.
Right, but doing that in the game, the purpose of the game is to win. So doing all of that in one game, does that equate to winning? Or is there another formula that equates to winning better?
You need a team to win. It doesn't matter what you do. I'll put it like this. How about this? I want to find out what you think about this. You can play basketball and score 100 points, get 100 rebounds, get 100 steals and 100 assists, and your team can lose. And now on the other hand, you can score 1 point, get 1 rebound, 1 assist, and 1 steal, and your team can win.
Okay. What's the question?
Well, my question is, why are you ignoring what they did factually and elevating stars because of a team winning?
Well, I can explain it, but you have to allow it.
I am allowing it. I'm following. Okay. You have to allow me to follow up, man. Or I can wait. You don't. I take it back. You don't have to allow it. I can wait. You can tell me when you're done. You can tell me what your topic is. You can tell me what you want me to address then.
So your question is, how do I elevate? Specifically, what is your question?
Basically, what I'm saying is you can dominate this game and lose, and you can play terrible and win. So it doesn't matter
Hold
how.
on, what's dominate? What's your definition of
Well, no,
dominating?
I gave you an extreme example. Go by the extreme. You can score 100 points, 100 rebounds, 100 steals, get 100 steals, and get 100 assists, and your team can lose, and you can score 1 point, get 1 rebound, get 1 steal, and get 1 assist, and your team can win.
By definition of dominating, like how do you dominate and lose? You can't. You like dominating means you won. Like that's dominating.
No, I don't understand. You really don't know in basketball. You can play well in a game, and your team couldn't. You can go play basketball, and you can do well, you personally, and your team can lose. Another guy on the other team can not do well, and his team can win.
You dominate by winning.
It takes a team to win. One guy doesn't win by himself, man.
It takes a team to do everything. We've established it.
Right, I know, but we established that. But then you go to elevating
Free throws
stars
is
and
the
all
only
stars
thing you do by
based on
yourself.
them
Free
team
throws
winning.
is the only individual stat. Everything is a team stat. It's a level playing field when you say yes. Everything that happens on the court is a team accomplishment. Everyone admits that. So everything that
Well,
happens,
actually, that's not true. No, that's not true. A lot of Michael Jordan fans don't admit. They go, Michael Jordan won by himself, or he basically won by himself, or he had at least
well,
amount of Hall of
that's
Famers, at least amount of All-Stars.
that's them. I
But
feel
you said
bad for
you said everyone, so.
I feel bad for that. But you're not going to find a player who's actually played the game at that level that's going to say that everything is not a team game.
But hold on. Now I got to get you on something. If you're going to go by that logic, most Hall of Famers don't rank one star over another star based on the rings. Then they go, you can't. It doesn't make sense to rank a player over another player based on rings. A team wins. It takes a team to win that.
Of course. Now, but let me come at you this angle.
Sure.
No one. I don't think I think that's an argument that people make to actually discredit one guy over another. No one has actually said the best. Just go to the amount of rings and say that's the best player.
People do it all the time. Michael Jordan does do it all the time.
No. See, you have a misconception of that because what happens is you look at the game and you say this guy's the best I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
That guy, and you get about 5 or 6 guys that I've never seen nobody better at the game than them.
Mm-hmm.
So you get those 5 or 6 guys, and out of that list, now you start to look at resume and say what he did.
Wait, I have to interrupt you.
What he did great.
I have to interrupt you on something, man. You're making it seem like that's not true. You question me as if it's not true. I'm telling you right now, I'm not making this up. There are plenty of people out there who are Michael Jordan fans who will do this kind of thing. All I need is rings. I don't need anything else. He's 6 for 6. Finals is all.
What they got to do with our conversation, though?
Because you explained that nobody does this.
What does it have to do with our conversation?
I'm telling you. You explained it like I got it wrong. Nobody does this, and I'm explaining too that a lot of people do it. They go by the NBA Finals.
How does that move our conversation forward by bringing that up?
I'm correcting
if obviously I'm not a person that thinks like that.
I mean, I don't say if you said something that's not true. Is it okay if I bring it up, Matt, or no?
Well, I'm not a person that thinks like that.
Okay, but you said no one does that, or you made it seem like I'm taking it the wrong way, like it's about these few players and then they go into resume. You're acting like people don't just go by finals wins. Then
I think for the most part, when people say 6 rings over whoever the guy that has been compared to him, I think it's misconstrued that they're saying that whoever has the most wins, the most rings is the best player.
I'll tell you again, there are people who will tell, I'm not making this up. They'll go, all I need is rings. He's 6 for 6. Winning is what matters most then. And everything else doesn't matter. Statistics, you have to go by NBA Finals.
Okay.
Go ahead. Continue, please.
So, for me, it's not just as simple as looking at the rings and saying that's the best player. But when you get those 5 or 6 guys who are the best, and it usually end up being Kareem, Michael, LeBron, Magic Bird.
No, that's not true. No, you're taking that from people like in the media who are mostly Michael Jordan fans. If you ask any of the old timers, they don't even understand why these people are on these lists or why there's even a list at all.
Okay, that's fair. That's real fair. But for the people who are in that conversation, that's when the resume and that's when the rings come into play. And there's certain people who have more rings than Mike It doesn't even make it past the eye test. Like Bill Russell, no one's going to say he was a force offensively. So
why does that matter? Why does that matter?
Because if you're taking the best player you've ever seen, right, Russell probably wouldn't make that cut.
That's actually not true. There are plenty of people who think he's the number one player of all time.
Okay, that's great. But for me, he doesn't make that cut.
Okay, so why is that? Because he doesn't score?
Yeah, because he scores. He scores decent enough. I think.
I mean, sorry, he doesn't score enough for you?
No, he's not the best offensive player I've seen. I've seen a guy.
There's a contradiction. You contradicted yourself. You were right. He's not the best offensive player. I mean, I assume he's not the best offensive player. But you made the point that winning is what matters most. And if this guy doesn't score enough for you, and he still wins,
no, you took that out of context. Okay. What I said is, when you take the best guys you've ever seen play, I'm not even getting to the resume on who won yet.
Okay.
Right. I'm compiling a list of guys who's the best I've ever seen play.
But there's a problem.
When I get those guys in one room, then I start looking at resume.
But here's what you're doing. Bill Russell didn't have the most points, and I'm going to go by some statistics, and I'm going to go by rings, and I'm going to go by this. You're cherry picking things from Michael Jordan, and the problem with this is Bill Russell didn't score as much points. That's true. But he didn't have to, and he still won. What should he have done? Should he have changed his game and score more points? Well, if he did that, he might not win, and then you Michael Jordan fans will go, he didn't win, so he has good statistics. He has good statistics, but he didn't win as much then.
No, that's not what I'm doing. I'm saying he's not the best player I've ever seen play.
But based partly on him not scoring.
I mean, based on him kind of not having that ability to score. He wasn't a scorer like that. He was a defender / rebounder.
What do you mean he didn't have the ability to score? He could have scored more points if he wanted to. If he didn't care about winning, he could have just said, give me the rock every time, I'm going to go score more points.
Yeah, you do know they had if you go into the history of the 60s when they had 8 teams.
Now we're going to a new topic.
When you go into the history of the 60s when teams wouldn't allow black players and the Boston Celtics were the first one to allow black players.
So you know what he should have done then? He should have left the NBA. You know what? Why play in the NBA? Years from now, some young guy in the future is not going to give me respect anyway. I'm going to leave the NBA.
I don't think that's a real good argument. I think what I said when I said that he wasn't the best player I've ever seen play, I think that's a standalone statement. Like, if he wasn't the best player I've seen play, then okay, he's not in the discussion for me.
But based on what? Based on him not scoring and playing tape?
Are you saying that he should be in the discussion for me?
Because there are people, I'm telling you straight up, who do pick him number one, who were actually there, who were white and black, who were older than you, who saw them play and saw Michael Jordan play, and they know more than us, and they'll tell you he was a better player. But then you, the guy who's not in the NBA, who's not a Hall of Famer, who wasn't there, you know that Michael Jordan was better based on tape you played. Partly
right.
Of
that. Basically off what I've seen, yeah.
Yeah, and that's
Michael
called.
Jordan's a better player.
And that's called. Not
so
going
Bill
by
Russell
facts. You're making things up, going by what you want to go by, and coming up to your own thing. Then.
Yeah, you can say that. I mean, I think if I'm coming up with a criteria that I think is fair across the board, I think that's the criteria.
But it's not fair. It's not factual. It's just making things up, man. You're going by whatever you want to go by. Then.
A criteria is a criteria that's fair across the board.
But it's not fair across the board. It's not.
If from what I've seen, if I've seen better in Michael Jordan, then I'm confused. I think you're saying that I shouldn't have that opinion because
it's not an opinion. It's not an opinion.
No,
it's a claim.
No, you're saying I shouldn't have that opinion because from what you just said that there are old heads that have seen both of them play. And who has Bill Russell was the best player.
Well, I don't know why you want to come old heads, but if you want to do that, it's fine. I did that because you were making the point that it seemed like you didn't know, like no one really picks Bill Russell as number one. You were acting like no one really does it. It's not like a thing. He's not in there.
As far as him winning 11 rings, that's the big consensus on why he is ever in the
The
discussion.
only reason that happens now,
I haven't seen the example of what you would describe of someone saying that Bill Russell was a better basketball player than Michael Jordan. I
no,
haven't seen that
if people are picking him as the number one player of all time, then obviously
based
that
off
means that he's better than
rings.
Michael Jordan. No, nobody. No, I'm telling
Based
you.
off rings.
No, I'm telling you. They're telling
What's their explanation when they say
that he's
Bill
a
Russell is
better
the best ever?
it's two things. He's a better overall all around player, and he helps your team win more.
Oh, is that the only thing that you're trying to pin down? Is that
Well, that
people
was
think
one
he's the
thing.
number one?
Then you asked me what are
Yeah,
they
but you know
basing it
we
on?
agreed on that, right? But the only thing we
Right.
disagree on
I
is
explained. You were asking me why, and I explained
the
why.
main thing on why they say Bill Russell is number one is because of the ring. I think the majority of people is going to reference the
You can
rings.
think whatever you like, man. I'm telling you, there are people out there factually. It's happening. You just don't know. It's happening. And
They're
by
going
the
to
way,
reference the rings.
the rings thing, and I know this, you can study the NBA. Nobody went around saying anyone was better than anyone based on rings. No one said Bill was better, Kareem was better, Wilt was better, Larry Bird was better. Nobody did that on rings. This became a thing because you Michael Jordan fans started going by rings. So then they started going, well, if you're going to go by rings, Bill Russell has 11 rings.
Okay, and then and you're going to tell me that on the contrary, people was saying someone was the best based on stats.
Oh, it depends on the person, but yes, there were people who did stats. Yes.
Okay, so your position is that I can go to the stat book and see who the best player is.
If you're going to rank them, which I don't even think you should rank them because there's probably no such thing as the number one player of all time.
If you rank people, to you, what weighs more? And I don't think that anything can be ignored. I think everything has to be taken into consideration.
I think a lot of things could be ignored.
Okay, so I think everything has to be taken into consideration.
And there's no way for you to factually know for sure what to consider, to what level, what counts, and stuff like that.
Yeah, and we can disagree on that, but
no, it's either a fact or it's not. No. It's either
just to move the conversation.
No, I want to make sure I understand. Something is either a fact or it's not. If something is a fact, it's done, undisputed. It's there, it's true. If it's not a fact, that means you're going by whatever you want, as you acknowledge that you're kind of doing that. You're just going by whatever random criteria you have then.
I wouldn't say random. It's a well thought out criteria, but it starts with what I've seen.
That's a random thing you're going by your thing. It's random because it's just your interpretation, your opinions, your criteria, things like that. It's not factual. You have to go by fact.
And I think when I say for me, I'm giving you the disclaimer on how I feel like the best player I've ever seen.
I understand, and I'm following up telling you that I don't take this the wrong way. You are making things up. You're not going by facts. You're going by whatever you want to go by, and you haven't done your research on the NBA.
That's fair. You can say that.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I felt guilty. I felt wrong. I didn't want to be negative, but I want to apologize to you ahead of time then.
No, because even that's an opinion, right? And you can have that opinion. And I'm pretty sure if I agree with everything you said, you wouldn't have that opinion.
Yeah, why? I mean, why would I accept if you're not? No, but that's if you're not going by facts, and I'm going by facts, and you're going by your own random criteria, which you disagree with.
Even going by facts.
Actual way to the only thing to rely on factually is statistics and records. Everything else is not factual. It's just going by whatever you want to go by.
Okay, so if I say it's a fact that Rajon Rondo primarily plays point guard with the ball in his hand, is that a fact?
I don't know, but I'm assuming it is.
No, but is it a fact or not?
I said I don't know, but I'm assuming
for his career, he played point guard, right?
Yeah, I understand
that. Is it a fact that he's a better on-ball player than he is an off-ball player? Is it a fact?
I don't know. Is he?
You don't know.
I don't know.
Right. So when you say no one has done their research on the NBA, for you not to know that about Rajon Rondo is either you're saying that based on you want to be difficult about the conversation, or you haven't done your research on the NBA.
That's a silly conclusion, and here's why. I'll tell you why it's a silly conclusion. I'll tell you why it's a silly conclusion. It's very easy. I never claimed to know everything. I'm not ranking players. I'm not picking Michael Jordan. I'm not going to you that my guy is number one and you're wrong. You are coming to conclusions. You weren't around for everyone. You're not going by facts, and you're coming with your own random thing on why Michael Jordan's the number one guy.
Right, and from the beginning I said, for me, from what I've seen, Michael Jordan is the best I've seen. So,
but that doesn't make him number one.
I said at the beginning, it might be unfair to guys I haven't actually lived through to see, like the Bill Russells and
Well, then
the Jerry
I have a
Wesses.
question. If you're acknowledging that it's based on what you've seen and it might not be fair and what you're explaining, then why are you acting like I don't know enough about the NBA and I'm not going by facts and you're going by facts and you disagree then?
Look, from what I've seen,
Okay.
he's the best I've seen. Right
Okay. All right. What does that prove?
now, from me making that statement, you came to your first question, and I think your first question was, how is it better to build around him than anybody else?
I
Right?
don't know if that was my first one, but okay. That was there.
That was toward the top of the beginning.
Okay.
My
Yeah, it
reply
was.
was, and what the point I was trying to make is, when you have a player who can play a particular game that allows his teammates to play their best game,
Uh,
you want to get better output from the
okay.
team.
Is Michael Jordan the best team player ever?
There's no way you can measure that.
Of course not. But you're measuring it about who helps their team more. So is
No,
he the best one ever?
no. I'm measuring it by saying easier to build around. Like you got
Right,
to
but if
use
he,
the
if
prop.
no,
You got to
because
use the proper sentencing.
I know, but it ties in. If he's easier to build around, that's because he's a great team player. It goes together. It fits.
No, it's not the same.
It
Be
doesn't?
specific.
Okay.
Be specific. It's easier to build around him because you're going to get high output from your role players as well as him as well.
And why
Where
can't you do these to the other stars?
other stars, be specific. Is different reasons for different
Right,
different stars. So
but
give me a name.
there's a couple of
Give me another name.
There's a
Give
couple
me a name and I'll tell you
I
why.
heard you. There's a couple of problems before I even give you names. There's a couple problems. The general consensus in the NBA. This ain't my opinion. This ain't your opinion. This is the general consensus. Is it's easier to build your team around a dominating center, and that's why it's been done like that so many times. And if they had a big center today, they would do it. If they had every Hall of Famer in front of them in their prime, and they didn't know the future, no one would pick Michael Jordan first because he ain't the biggest, strongest, fastest, quickest. They would pick the biggest, strongest, fastest guy and build around him. And then even if you disagree and you go, no, Michael Jordan is the easiest to build on, the best. There's no way for you to prove that. You're going to come up with your own random thing or things.
You said about 2 or 3 different things in there.
Okay. They all connected together.
Your first thing is that it's a general consensus around the NBA that it's easier to build around a big male center, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're speaking of the era that Jordan played in, not this era, right?
I'm talking about every era, man. Sure.
The era of the positionless basketball where you're shooting
It was always like that.
Hold on. The era right now where most teams don't have a big man scoring their points, where Dwight Howard, DeMarcus Cousins, they're becoming obsolete.
Right, because there's no, because
you don't
have to tell me all this. I know all this, man.
You can't be talking about this era. You're talking about Michael Jordan's era, right?
But the concept, the reason they're not doing it is because there's no one like that now. They would do it if they had it.
There's no one like what? That's not why. It's because the league has changed.
You're making that up. It's literally changing because there's no one like that. The Warriors started winning, and every time a team wins, the league builds around to beat that team. They didn't have a big guy, and there was no other big guys. There was no Shaq, no Hakeem, no Wilt, whoever. And now they're playing a certain way. Bill Walton even explained this. He was asked, why aren't they building around big men? Why are they going on small ball? I don't have the exact words. And Bill Walton was like, well, they would if they had better big men.
Well, he's an idiot for saying that because you got Jokic, you had DeMarcus Cousins, you got Dwight, you got Joel.
Did you hear what you said? You said he's an idiot for saying that. Are you listening to yourself now?
There's plenty of big men, and if you look at Jordan's era, you can probably name 5 top big men: Shaq, Olajuwon, David Robinson, Patrick Ewing. If you get desperate, you probably could go down to maybe.
I mean, I want to go to you calling Bill Walton an idiot, man. He's a Hall of Famer big man who knows the NBA, who worked in the NBA. You did not, and he's an idiot, and you're not.
Yeah, you can call me an idiot, so that's fine. So.
No, I don't want to call you that. I'm just trying to understand why you would call him an idiot. And he was one example. I just gave you a random example. I can give you more examples. Jerry West, right. Elgin Baylor. Right. There's so many names who will tell you the reason they don't have it is because there's not any big men dominant like they used to be then.
All right, and I'm about to show you that's not true.
Are they idiots too?
I'm about to show you that's
Are
not
they
true.
idiots too? Are they wrong?
I'm about to show you that's
No,
not
I'm
true.
saying, are they idiots too? Are they wrong?
I'm about to show you that's
So you
not
don't want to
true.
address that question. Now go ahead.
No, of course not. I mean, because it doesn't move on along the conversation, right?
But it puts it in perspective. If they're there and
It
they
doesn't.
work,
It doesn't. It
Jerry
doesn't. It doesn't.
Jerry West works in the NBA. He's very well experienced. He knows the ins and outs. People call him from the NBA today to ask his advice, and you disagree with them, and you know more, and you're not even in the NBA.
I'm about to show you.
All right.
All right. So when there was capable big men, you would say it was Ewing, David Robinson, Shaq, Olajuwon.
You don't have to listen to names. We know the players, man. Go ahead.
Right. All right. So are they better than the centers that we have like now when you DeMarcus? Because you have capable big men, so it's not that there are no capable
There are a
big
lot,
men
and there
to
are a lot
dominate.
of. I didn't say there was no one, but there are a lot of people who think, including your fellow Michael Jordan fans, by the way. Well, I guess you disagree with them.
You can't prove that no one's number one unless you can agree on the criteria.
That's not how you do it.
And obviously, me and you have different criteria that we go by.
Yeah, I go by facts.
Okay, so you got your criteria, and I have my criteria.
You go by
right?
non-facts.
By your estimation, it's not facts.
No,
It's not worth to debate whether I'm saying facts and you're not, or I'm not saying facts and you are. I mean, like that's not.
Well, I mean, that's
what I came here to talk about.
But one of the ways when people have a debate in this world and they have a disagreement, whatever, one of the ways to solve issues is to establish the facts and go by facts. If you don't go by facts, you're just going by whatever you want to go by then.
Right, but so what is it that's not a fact that I've stated? I told the only thing I've tried to explain. The only thing I've tried to explain so far is why I feel like it's better or easier to build around a player like Michael Jordan who allows his teammates to.
I've told you that most people in the NBA will not build around a six. I didn't say these exact words, but my point was they wouldn't build around a 6'6" guy, 195-pound guy. They'll build around the bigger, stronger, dominating, faster guy, and it's happened throughout history. And
you said the bigger, stronger, dominating, faster guy. What's the example of that guy? Over MJ. What's the example?
Well, I'll give you more than one.
Was it Sam Bowie?
Yeah, Wilt Chamberlain.
Will. Okay, so
and by the way, Sam Bowie was considered a better player than Michael Jordan. Sure, he got injured.
Do you think that hindsight being 2020, that if they was to have a draft and have Michael Jordan and Wilt Chamberlain there, you're saying that everyone still would pick Wilt?
The question, I need to make sure I understand the question. Just to make sure, are you talking about if they have
hindsight being 2020?
No, I got you. Let me ask the question.
The fact that you got six rings out of Michael Jordan being your leader.
Well,
you got two from Wilt being your leader.
Right,
you're saying that they still would pick Wilt.
But before I address that, the question doesn't make sense because if you're going to tell me they're going to,
of course it don't make sense. Of course it don't make sense to you because it's a question that's going to contradict what you just said.
Well, now you're kind of being negative. You don't have to get emotional because I'm proving you wrong. Take it easy. Let me show you how it doesn't make sense. Maybe you should listen to it first before you come to a ridiculous conclusion like, oh, it doesn't make sense to you. It doesn't make sense to you because you're making things up, and here's why. If you're going to tell me one guy is going to get picked over another guy because of the rings, you know where I'm going with that. Now, if you're going to tell me that they're going by hindsight for other things, that's a different thing. Are they going by rings or other things?
The total package.
Okay, so if you're going to go by total package, then you're including things like rings. Are they both going to have the same teams, or are they going to have the teams that they actually played on, what team?
It's the same draft, and this team has the number one pick. Are they picking Wilt?
Okay, so they both have the same team.
It's the team has the number one pick. Who they pick?
Okay, so they both have the same team.
I can answer your question for you because you already answered. You said they're going to pick Wilt. You said that the NBA has already said that they want the big guy over the 6'6" wing player. So your answer would be Wilt, right?
Right, of course.
Okay, all right.
And Kareem, and they would pick Kareem over Michael Jordan. And I could give you other players, but then it becomes harder to prove because those aren't as big guys. Like I think a lot of people pick Magic Johnson over Michael Jordan. There's lots of some people who pick Bill Russell, but it gets harder to prove that because a lot of these guys are older and they're not around, and the NBA is made up of Michael Jordan fans, so it's hard to prove that. But definitely, I'm not even disputed. Wilt Chamberlain, Kareem, Shaq, maybe Hakeem, they will always go with the big, strong guy. But what you're doing is,
Always.
yeah, always, always. But what you're doing
Okay.
is you're going by rings, and that doesn't
I'm
make
not going by
sense.
rings. I'm not going by
Remember, you
rings.
said to me, if they know in hindsight, Wilt has 2, Michael has 6,
Well, the purpose of the game is to win,
and
right?
you need a team to win.
And you need a team to do everything. Like you keep saying you need a team to win. You
It's
need a team
true.
to score. You need a team to do everything,
Right.
right? So everything that has been recorded as a stat is a team accomplishment. Period. You can't isolate winning
Oh, no,
and say
it's not
it's
period.
different from
They're considered
everything.
individual stats also. But go ahead.
You can consider it that, but you need a team to do all of it. So they're all one and the same. So
To
don't
different levels. To
isolate.
different. No, they're not the same.
Don't isolate it like
No,
you
no,
can't.
they're
You
not the
can't
same. They're
have
not the same. They're not the same. It's
winning as a
different.
criteria.
It's different levels. They're not the same. But go ahead.
Nah, it's all a team accomplishment.
No, you agreed with me earlier that it's different levels. Remember?
No, I gave you an example on you saying it's being different levels, and I tried to break that down with stats.
But
But
it sounded like you were
of course
agreeing.
I didn't.
It sounded like you were
Of course I
agreeing.
didn't get. Of course I didn't get a chance to finish that
Oh, of
point out.
course,
So
because you haven't had enough time. You never did any interrupting. You never got a chance. And I don't understand because it's proving me wrong. Right? These are your silly, ridiculous, negative conclusions. Then.
well, you might feel it's proving me wrong, but
Oh, I think most people when they play this tape will agree that I proved you
if
wrong.
if you haven't heard my
Except for
tape,
Michael Jordan fans.
yeah, and that's fine. I mean, I could talk this whole show about everything without any interruption. It's still going to be people who have one position over another.
I can assure you, most people. I can
There's
assure
people on
you,
one side of the fence. Either way.
wrong. Most people who subscribe to my page are either Michael Jordan fans or people who think like me, where there's no such thing as number one, or they pick someone else, but it's not factual. So you have to analyze it properly. If the only people who agree with you are Michael Jordan fans, and all the independent people who might pick Kareem or Bill or Magic or whoever don't agree with you, what does that explain to you? Is that a coincidence, man?
Well, it explains to me that I came on this show to tell you who I had number one,
Okay.
and tried to explain that. And I think it's obvious that I really haven't got a chance to explain it, but that's fine.
You feel that way because you want me to give you, and you're not the only one who feels that way. You guys come on and you bring A, B, C, D, and you expect me not to address A, B, C, D, and wait, even though you told me earlier you're fine with interruptions and a give and take, even though you yourself are interrupting, having a give and take, even though you're debating
I'm
me.
fine. I'm still
Well,
fine.
you're not fine with it because you've complained about it more than once now, and you brought it up more than once. And when you're,
I'm explaining why you haven't heard my whole tape.
but when you're debating me also, and you're allowing for a debate, and you seem fine with it at the time, now when time passes, you can't act like now you're not fine with it. You were fine with it at the time when we were going over these topics. I wasn't talking to myself and debating myself. You were addressing it, and you were following up. Now, if you feel
I'm super fine with it.
okay, I can tell when you bring it up and complain about it more than once and act like point the finger at me and like you didn't do anything wrong then. But if you feel like you haven't had a chance to finish your point after over an hour, I'm happy to let you finish, man. You tell me when you want me to get in and what parts you want me to address and what you want to go over. It's up to you then.
No, I'm just explaining. I'm just explaining to you some obvious things. It's all good. So what's the next question?
Okay. Wait, do you want to explain something that you didn't get a chance to finish? Because maybe you have some golden magical thing that'll explain that. Prove Michael Jordan won.
We've been all over the place so many times and so many times. It's like so much stuff coming in. It's like really hard to address anything. So just ask your next
very
question.
simple. It's very here. I'll make it simple for you. You go over what you like. You can tell me if you want me to get in there, and you can tell me what topic you want, and go from there. You can go over whatever you like.
I think as far as explaining why I have him number one, I mean it's really nothing else to go over. I got that over the way at the beginning.
Okay.
He's the best I've seen.
So you did get things in there. You did get enough in there.
I mean, for the sake of the argument, yeah, sure.
No, it's up to you. I want to be fair, man. Did you feel like you got everything in there, most in there, enough in there? What do you feel like?
I feel like we've been in it already an hour. It ain't much more to say.
Okay. Why were you complaining like you didn't have everything get in there? It's going against me because what was that whole thing about where you were acting like I'm not getting it because it's going against me then?
No, I was explaining to you. I haven't finished a point.
Uh-huh.
That's what I was explaining. But as far as it being unfair and all that stuff, Look, you putting words in my mouth on that.
Maybe I'm not getting it. If you didn't finish a point, and then you're telling me like you got everything in there, and I'm putting words in your mouth, did you finish your points or you didn't, man?
Bro, whatever you want to say, man.
Okay, all right, okay. So it's up to you, man. I want to be fair to you. Do you want to finish some points that you feel like you didn't finish? New topic, no topic?
I think everything's good. I think everything's good.
Hey, please subscribe. And if you disagree with me on something, you can go on my program and show me your facts on whatever you disagree on. If you want to go on, let's set it up. Send me an email. The email is right there in the description section. Thank you.